I didn't know you were an artist.
There's quite a lot about me you don't know.
Welcome to an episode of Curiosity Cure. The ending of Arcane was a heart-stopping moment for the viewer, as we helplessly watched Jinx launching her rocket towards the council chamber of Piltover. Disappointingly, the camera cuts right before impact, leaving us to contemplate what is to happen next. With 1,000 questions and theories out in the open, there is no definitive consensus on the matter. In this video, we are going to examine one of the most hotly debated theory, the brief glowing light we see on Mel's back right before impact, as it is arguably the most critical factor that may be the difference between life and death for the councilors. But before we get started, if you enjoy our content, please consider subscribing and giving this video a like. The Arcane community's understanding of what had taken place appears to be heavily divided, opinions ranging anywhere from believing that it is nothing more than a mere reflection, to theories of Mel being of Solarian heritage, and by association, related to Leona of Mount Targon. While this argument has some level of reasoning, it doesn't get any deeper than a visual connection. After digging far into the Runeterra's lore, which only seemed to lead down a rabbit hole, a potential theory formed from cross-referencing several aspects of the literature. In order to understand if Mel has any powers, we first need to look at her history and family background. While Mel's mother Mbessa is fairly straightforward, being that of a Noxian warlord, her father is much more complicated. Little is known about Mel's father. While he remains unnamed throughout the series, we know for certain that he belonged to the Medarda clan. Growing up, Mel had 2 names to live up to. At an early age, Mbessa molded her daughter to be a fearless leader, and often exposed her to the horrors of war. This often conflicted with that of her Medarda teachings, which pursued diplomacy and pacifism. Eventually, Mel's mother would grow weary and banish her from the family, leaving her to pursue a different life in Piltover. For the remainder of her childhood, it is likely that Mel was raised by her father, in the ways of the Medarda. However, this was not to be either, as she was to be ostracized by them. In Arcane, we hear Mel say that she fell short of Medarda standards. Banished by her mother and outcasted by her clan, she had no option other than to pursue her own career. Through her own dedication and ambition, she would forge her own legacy as she elevated herself with her political prowess. Eventually, she would become one of the 7 councilors that sat at the helm of the engines of commerce. Possibly, after reaching great heights, her relationship with her clansmen somewhat mended, as now they'll see her as a way to further Medarda's interests. Although her influence in Piltover is not to be understated, it is not of a supernatural nature. While it is possible that over the years Mel embraced the way of the Solari, surrendered herself to the radiant light for comfort from a cruel fate, the theory soon becomes shaky as we dive deeper. According to the lore, Solarians were worshippers of the aspect, in particular, the aspect of the sun. A divine deity that is likely older than Runeterra itself. While Leona was bestowed the deity's great powers, few ever reach her heights. The Solarians' training mainly focuses on worship, ideological studies, and physical training. Nothing appears to be of divine interest other than to worship it. Thus, it is highly doubtful this cultish nature is the source of any meaningful power. Since nothing in the lore hints how she might have retained any powers other than political, we have to look elsewhere to explain the incandescent illumination we see. The heritage of the Medarda clan appears to be particularly interesting. The Medarda rose to prominence for their contribution to Piltover. They designed and built the Sungate. While the exact functions of the Sungate are extremely complex, in short, it is a bridge that is able to regulate sea levels and connects Valoran with Shurima for easier port-to-port trading. In Piltover, Progress Day marks the anniversary of the creation of the Sungate, which was named for its Shurima heritage. Long ago, Shurima was a prosperous empire. The source of the prosperity came from that of the sun disk. We know the sun disk granted great power, but the root of that power lies elsewhere. After the equivalent of the Big Bang of the Runeterra universe, the first being came into existence. That of a dragon. Aurelion Sol crafted most of the universe, with the exception of Runeterra itself. It is possible that the aspects, lesser deities, made it, albeit with malicious intent. The aspect invited the great dragon, deceiving him of their true intentions, presented the people of Runeterra as a place of worship. Flattered by them, Aurelion descended down to earth. He was presented with a crown, but it was no gift at all. The second it touched his brow, it clamped tight on his head with unmeasurable force. His knowledge of the sun and creation was being stolen by the inferior beings. Worst yet, he was propelled back into the heavens, unable to return to Runeterra again. From afar, he watched helplessly as the aspects manipulated the mortals into building a giant golden disc, a conduit that could channel the dragon's great power. While the aspects first descended from Targon peaks. Shurima holds much more significance as it is the source of the immense power. Medarda, being descendants of the Shurima, could very well have ties with the old fallen empire. Powerful family heirlooms that would be passed down through generations. In the lore, it is said that Jay, son of the Medarda clan leader, enjoys spending his time hunting for these artifacts. It is plausible that one of these artifacts was bestowed to Mel by her father, seeing that there is little he could do for her. Perhaps the intricate golden plates fused with her skin grants her reminiscence of the great dragon's power. Maybe she would not perish in the wake of the incident. While the evidence is speculative at best, there is some merit of hope for Mel. After examining this scene for a dozen times, it is just too significant to be a mere reflection. In addition, there is no direct light source to justify such illumination, as only the back of Jinx's rocket glows. In a future video, we will examine the scene in detail, so subscribe for updates. Anyways, that's all for today. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.